Welcome to the Flying High Club in association with the World Aviation Festival, Lisbon 2025. This series in Lisbon is brought to you and powered by Swiper, the digital payment platform which works in managing disruption and airline compensation. Swiper is smart, seamless, and built for the future of air travel. You'll find more information in the link below and the comment section. Thank you to Swiper for supporting the Flying High Club at Lisbon 2025. Enjoy the episode. Welcome everyone to the Flying High Club podcast, officially here with our partners, the World Aviation Festival in Lisbon at 2025 World Aviation Festival. We're delighted to bring on another guest for you today, another big hitter from the industry, and we're really looking forward to delving into not only what they're doing as an organization, but how they are managing such a large organization and what that takes as an individual. So we're really excited. I want to welcome on board Warwick Brady from Swissport. Warwick, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, Warwick, tell us a bit more about yourself. How did you end up here running one of the largest ground handling companies in the world?
Look, yeah, it's Warwick Brady. Look, I'm the chief executive of Swissport. It's an international company. We're in 45 countries. We're the largest aviation services business in the world. How I ended up here, I started life as a pilot. I've worked for a number of private equity companies, and then, of course, went back into aviation, into airlines. I've worked for airlines like Ryanair, EasyJet, and of course it was a natural move as a customer to kind of run Swissport, because I know as a customer what needed to be done. So it's a really fascinating part of the industry, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Fantastic. Okay, well, look, we're here at the World Aviation Festival. Why are conferences like WAF so important, and what would you advise people to try and take away from such conferences?
So the real benefit of being at a conference like this is, number one, it keeps you really close to the industry. You get the pulse of what's happening with our customers in the industry. It's a really good place to network. And most of our customers attend the WAF. So I've already seen some of our customers, and it's good to connect. And then, of course, connect with old colleagues and old friends. Right? So it's a really enjoyable experience to kind of immerse yourself in the industry.
Fantastic. And to be able to do it in one place is quite handy as well. Fantastic. Okay. And, you've come here. What kind of innovations, especially with your lens, looking across multiple, countries and operations that you have, what kind of innovations are exciting you right now that you're interested in?
So our business, when you really boil it down, okay, is a people and a tech business. That's where we're going. We've got 65,000 people. We operate in 300 airports. We do about 4 million turnarounds a year, okay? And we have cargo, ground handling, fueling, lounges. So we are literally the kind of invisible backbone to the aviation industry, from landing to takeoff. So, and the innovation which we're focused on, we've launched our Swissport Labs, and there are two parts of innovation. One is what I call making sure your back office is really efficient. So we've invested in proprietary technology for planning, rostering. We have a people hub where from a recruitment perspective, we get all the way through to on the line. We've invested in the Global Training Academy, one of the first in the world, where we're modernizing all of the training, making it very interactive. And then, of course, on the back office there, underpinned by AI, we're already a long way in the journey on AI, using AI tools, both from a optimization point of view, data, etc. So that's the kind of back office efficiency, right? To be the leading aviation services business in tech and AI. And we're already down that journey. And on the front end, which is, what do we do for our customers besides provide a very safe, efficient operation, is we've launched a number of products from our Swissport Labs. One is a product called Matchbox, which provides airlines making sure that the customer has the right documentation. So we can do that at the gate. We can do it at the time of online check-in. Yes. Right? And we literally update all of our immigration, visa, yellow fever, all of those types of documentation you need to travel. We update them every 2 hours.
Which can be a nightmare to do. I remember sitting on check-in trying to work out exactly what someone needs and when they need it. So to find that in a place which is easily updated and easily accessible. Sounds fantastic.
Well, it just makes
Yeah.
makes travel very easy. And we're providing a service for both airlines and airports, and it's a kind of seems to be quite a popular product. We also want to be at the heart of kind of what I call the future of aviation. The airport experience. Digitization, how the industry is going to change with AI. We've been trialing an autonomous vehicle in Zurich, taking bags from airplanes to the baggage hall and back. And I think, we want to be the heart of that. We want to be the operator of all that equipment. Because, as a startup, no one's going to rely on a startup to run multiple vehicles or even humanoids on an airport. They'll turn to the largest.
It sounds like Swissport Labs is a perfect almost incubator to work with these startups to, like you said, scale what tech and AI could look like in the airports and in the airport service industry.
So, absolutely. We've got, under the Swissport Labs, we not only invest with our own coders and technology people, but we obviously work with early stage companies that are innovative, agile, and they can then provide technology for us that could really add benefits. And I think the key with those startups is they have to solve a problem.
Yes.
Right. And it's got to be real benefit. AI is a huge amount of hype and everyone's investing in tools and massive capex across the world.
Yeah.
But in the end, it needs to solve a problem and make us more efficient. So my message to any of the sort of founders of those sort of leading edge tech companies is make sure you've got a problem you can solve and make it easy.
Yeah. Very straightforward advice from a potential customer and a potential investor. That's what we like to hear. So let's talk about Swissport. Actually, you've doubled turnover since 2021. What has been the biggest strategic, bet behind that growth?
So first, we started off, it was a somewhat undermanaged, underinvested company pre to COVID. And what we've put in place is we put an operating model that has two tenets to it. One is a pure accountability model. So we operate a kind of franchise type system where everyone is accountable for the safety, for the operational performance, for the P&L. So that's one side, real accountability. And we provide all the strategy and the systems and the support and the processes. And the other side is to be very customer centric. And the way I did that was within our first month, I introduced a weekly NPS. Every Tuesday, every week, we ask our all customers, how did we do last week? 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Right, plus some comments. So we now have 4.5 years of data, right, for our customers. I look at these weekly NPS scores. I write at least to 10 station managers, thanking them or questioning them. But the insight on the customer centricity is just palpable. So the operating model, the customer centricity, and then, of course, we invested in technology. We're the largest operator of equipment. So we operate all our own equipment, all our own maintenance facilities. And that has created a real driver behind our growth.
Wow.
Right?
Where do you get the fortitude and strength to look that far ahead? I mean, if you think about back to COVID, it was about battening down the hatches. And it sounds like you kind of looked ahead when maybe not everyone did. So where does that come from?
So, I was sitting at the end of 2021, if you remember the Omicron and this variability of schedules. And then I said to our shareholder, I said, look, we are going to have to take a bet on 2022 growth, right? So we're going to have to invest upfront in recruiting people. We recruited 40,000 staff in 2022, incredible, right? Invested significantly to make sure we could ramp up with the industry. Now that was a strategic bet, right? We could have easily increased our prices and reduced the scale of our growth, right, and done it in a more measured way. But we thought this was an opportunity to really grab market share and show that we're the market leaders in the industry. And so 22 was a difficult year of recovery, if you remember.
Yes.
ATC, immigration,
Absolutely.
ground handlers, air pilots, etc. But it really paid dividends in 23 and 24 because we really created what I call the kind of the restructuring, the platform. Because so Swissport is a platform, right? It's a global platform that is really, and we run it I run it like I was a customer. So I was a customer for 10 years or so for Swissport. And, I knew all of the issues that needed to be solved. Right?
Yeah. Well, you've shown there that transition from airline to ground handling. It's not a traditional route that's taken always. I think like you made it very clear. I see the logic. You were a customer, so therefore you could help. Do you see that as a really open career pathway of people coming from airlines into ground handling? Because I don't see much of it. So it's normally the other way. People work their way up. They say it in that way.
It's a very interesting question. So if you look at aviation in its entirety, right, it's a growth business. Okay, number one. And not only that, there's, especially for the likes of Swissport, there's a lot of outsourcing, because when you've got professionalized companies that can invest on, equipment, technology, we can do it better than the airlines. I know they don't think that, but we can definitely invest more. We can leverage our scale. Yeah. So one is, from an industry point of view, the industry is growing. Okay. And there's so many facets. You've got maintenance, you've got airlines, you've got pilots, you've got aviation services. And I think what was been really interesting for me is, of course, running airlines is great, and I enjoyed it. But running the aviation service business is very interesting, because I have 800 customers. Yes. They've all got different cultures. They've all got different requirements. So it's a much broader part of the industry to be in. So I personally find it energizing, because you've got a P&L. You'll really have to provide a real obsessive customer service. And I think what we've seen change is I've actually managed to recruit people from airlines into our business. Right, rather than going the other way around. Right. And I'm showing some very key leaders that, look, this part of the industry can be a very interesting place to work.
Yes.
Right. And we've got career growth. So you can work in 45 countries. Yes. So you've got career opportunities across this business. So you can really start as a sort of loading bags. Yes. To being the CEO of a country or station manager. So not only that, we provide training. We've got this learning and development as part of our global academy. So really, I think it's, the times are changing. The days of where the airlines look down at the handlers, I think are changing. And I think COVID helped that.
Yeah.
Because it showed that without the spine, absolute visible spine at the airport, no one's going anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Undervalued asset that maybe underappreciated as well.
Underappreciated, for sure.
See. Fantastic. Okay. So talking about your station managers or your regional CEOs, I think customer comes across very evident, and that's fantastic. And that's something that really is energizing us here. What are the kind of key traits you look for in those people? What are you asking your teams to look for in those individuals?
We really value our station managers. They're the most important, actually, leaders in our business. Okay. Because it's really the interface with the customer. So it's a very hard job. So you've got to be highly operational. Yeah. You've got to be a very strong leader. You're leading, let's say, 1,000 people at a station, right? And you've got to have an eye for detail. You've got to be visible in the organization, right? And of course, you've also got to be numerate, because you've got a P&L.
Yes.
So so we of course provide them all the safety tools. So we've got a safety system. You've got equipment that has telemetry on. We provide them all the station scorecards. So we measure everyone across the world exactly the same way. And we hold a conference every year, once a year, a large station managers conference and a commercial conference, where we effectively reward all of our station managers, whoever, in the platinum class, in the silver class, large stations, small stations. And so we celebrate the continued growth, but also we do a lot of master classes. Safety is such an important part of our business. Like, it's the tenet of, don't damage airplanes, don't damage people. Yes. Right. It is the key. But we know the profile now, and we're trying to do homegrown, right? From taking people from supervisors, duty managers, and station managers, invest in them. I mean, this is a people business.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay. Talking about that, are you worried about the talent pipeline?
So look, I think it's always hard to get talent, right? So we spend a lot of time thinking about, how to attract people in Swissport, right? So, and it's all part of really, what's the recruitment process? You're selling, because we're competing with other handlers, we're competing with airlines, so we spend a lot of time thinking about, how do we get the talent? I have a a coffee with Warwick session every month for sort of, let's say, 6 or 7 different talented employees around the world. We're trying to grow that talent. Long way to go.
Yes.
And hopefully we see, as the world develops over the next 5 or 10 years, we do see a scarcity of talent. Yeah. So, with digitization and automation, we think that will free up the kind of talent to focus on really the key tasks of safety and operation delivery, customer service, work hand in hand with technology.
Okay, fantastic. And talking about technology, we've got AI, we've got robotics, we've got autonomous vehicles, as you say. Which of these are really going to, in your mind, reshape ground handling in the future?
So I think in the near term, I think AI, the investment in AI, look, it's a kind of transformational technology in the last 2 decades. Right? So if we can really unlock that to support all the decision making, support the airport, what I call the airport experience 2.0, I think that's the kind of very near term unlocking of this, the next step in aviation. I think there's still a long way to go with autonomous vehicles and humanoids and robotics. But I do think in 2030, and I've created a vision for this business, a 2030 vision. I think, over the next 10 years, we are going to have to work very closely with the airports and the airlines to create this, a very efficient customer experience from landing to takeoff. And we'll play a very important part of that.
Okay. And I want to talk again, the sheer size of the business is immense. Over 45 countries. You're dealing with technology. You're dealing with people. You're dealing with various levels of labor laws and everything.
Indeed.
How do you maintain consistency? As you say, you've got this central kind of network, which is pushing out, like you said, safety management systems, etc. But how do you maintain consistency across such variable cultures and ways of operating?
So we that is one of our key challenges, and the way we set it up, our operating model is absolutely key to effectively installing a consistent delivery to our customers. So if you're one of our big customers and you fly to Chicago, you fly to Johannesburg, you fly to Sydney, London, etc., we want to create, whether it be cargo, lounges, create exactly the same experience. So how we think about it is this operating model is we set the standards in the center. Everyone has a scorecard, or what you can measure, you can manage.
Yeah.
Right. And so what we do is we manage to start off with the output. So whether it be first wave bags, first wave bag, first wave delays, on time performance, first bag, last bag, the NFD performance on the cargo, the lounge NPS. So we then consistently apply a measurement across the world exactly the same, no matter where you are, because handling in Santiago is not really different to handling in Chicago. Right? So the first thing is to create this kind of this measurement, which we then hold everyone accountable to the global standards. So set the clear vision, set a standard which you need to apply, and then make sure you measure that standard. Yeah. And that's what the global team, they make sure that we then look at all of the outliers, and then we then focus on what support stations need.
Fantastic. Okay, makes quite logical sense when you put it down like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. Okay. Look, alongside AI and these technologies, sustainability is becoming a bigger player when it comes to aviation. Whether it's in terms of press, we talk about sustainable fuels, but it's also affecting ground handling in terms of how we operate on the airfield. What initiatives are Swissport taking currently in terms of the sustainability agenda?
Sure. So start off with, as an industry, so we're a part of the industry, and we support the airlines as kind of as part of that.
Yes.
Okay? So we're a very important part of not only making sure we get to the 2050 target of zero emissions for the airlines and for obviously all the companies. So that's just step one, is we need to support the industry. And to do that, we've got a number of streams of work. Firstly, we invest in sustainable GSE, which is equipment. Okay. We're the largest operator of equipment in the world. We own all of our own equipment. We've got over 55,000 pieces of equipment around the world. 30% of those are electric, okay, and or effectively eco, which is and we're investing somewhere like about 1.5 billion over the next 5 years in our warehousing, in our infrastructure, in our equipment to basically to make us a much more sustainable business. Okay? And then, of course, there's a huge amount of, whether it be sustainability, whether it be, your carbon, whether it be your plastics. So we're measured by an accredited organization called EcoVadis.
Okay.
Right? And we are in the top 1% of sustainable companies globally. So we really are supporting not only the industry, we're supporting our airlines, and we are measured and accredited that we're doing a very good job on sustainability.
And you're doing that voluntarily. I mean, that's not really being
Absolutely.
asked for. But
Well, we think it's important.
Okay, fantastic. Looking back at your time at Swissport, I think you probably already maybe mentioned, but you may have others. But looking back at your time at Swissport, what moment when it comes to your leadership or decisions that have shaped how you're leading today?
One is the most important decision that I made when I first came was that, as I said, because I was a customer, right, I knew exactly what needed to be done. And it was delivering safe operations across the globe and being customer-centric. They were the two tenets of the mission for effectively a restructuring of Swissport. And that's really been the platform that we created, have come out of safe operations, a very strategic pillar, and that customer centricity. Well, I mean, when people ask me, what do you do? Right? I say I'm the chief bag handler.
Brilliant.
Of Swissport. And it gives although it creates a bit of a laugh,
Yes.
it gives the spirit of what we do.
Absolutely.
So, we've got these sort of four sort of business lines, which are cargo, ground handling, fueling, lounges, right? But from, every day, we do thousands and thousands of little services.
Yes.
So my job is to make sure all those services are delivered, right, as the chief bag handler.
Yes.
But, I spend a lot of time, once a month, I go around the world and I see our people, I meet the station managers, so I'm a sort of this type of CEO that really can relate to literally people loading bags, people doing check-in, all the way through to managing our shareholders.
And I'm sure you see the value in that because there's nothing worse than that kind of that person who's loading a bag at 4 a.m. in the morning, seeing a nice corporate comms message from Warwick telling him how things need to change on the ground, and thinking he's sitting up in the ivory towers, as you say. But it's a really nice way of bringing it, bringing it down to what it really matters in terms of the customer and delivering the operation.
So, I think one of the benefits that I've got as a leader is that I also started in aviation at the beginning, right? So, I've worked on airfields, I've towed gliders, I've been a pilot, and you mix and you understand really what needs to be done. And I think having that connection with, of course, our staff, I think is really important. And not only that, you've got to, as a kind of leader, you need to build the best team possible. And what I've done in aviation services is that, we've always seen the sexiest place to be is the airlines, right? Of course, actually, this is as interesting to work in our business because you have such a range of customers. But our leaders are also down-to-earth leaders, right? I was in New York recently seeing one of our customers there. We take the subway, right? We didn't turn up in the kind of, this Mercedes 500 SL.
Yes. Yeah. It's important. So look, we're talking about a lot of the positives, and absolutely we should. Warwick, if I was to ask you, when it comes to Swissport, what keeps you up at night?
So look, what keeps you up at night is making sure we don't damage airplanes. Okay. I think I'm trying to encourage this really strong safety culture. We start every meeting with a safety moment. We have a very strong head of safety. We're investing heavily in equipment. We're investing heavily in people. So we even have the 6 red rules, which is making sure that people at the station, right, they're paid competitively, have the right equipment and the uniform, have the right number of people on the shift. So they have a very clean, well-maintained break room, etc. So what keeps me away is, look, we never want to have an accident or damaged airplane. We've not loaded an airplane properly. And that's what keeps me up at night, to make sure and breaking through what I call the permafrost. Because, once you've got 300 stations or so, and we've got quite a young workforce.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. If you remember, like when you were kind of in your 20s, if you were driving, you were probably not as safe when you're 18 as you are when you're a bit older.
Yeah, I think my wife would disagree, but yes, no.
So, that's the making sure that the safety of this business is at the core.
Yeah.
And the next thing, and I don't sleep awake, I don't wake up at night thinking about it, but we just want to be, we want to be a true market leader. Like, we want to be operationally safe with a great operation, and we want to be leading in technology.
That North Star comes across very clearly. So, Warwick, I think I commend you on keeping it simple. I think a lot of this vision, you can find people that can spend numerous words, and at the end of it, you're still trying to work out what exactly it is. And I think what I would say is it comes across very clear, and I'm sure that's the case for your teams, hence why the numbers are backing that up as well. So that's a kudos to you there. We're going to move on to what we call the flight path, which is more about you. We talked about Swissport, but I want to know about your proudest moment in your career to date.
So look, my proudest moment, I think there's moments. So I think when I think about moments, so I don't have one specific moment, but I think, first we've spoke about Swissport. I'm very proud of what we've done at Swissport. For that, to transform Swissport into kind of the market leader has been really a very proud moment. The two other moments, again, that are also as important to me, but not in a hierarchical terms, is working for EasyJet. I was part of the team, and I joined in 2009, that really transformed EasyJet into kind of a very high margin. We delivered a great operation. We had the highest margins. We entered the FTSE 100, and the team that I worked with they were a phenomenal team. They were an A-class team, and I think that was a really proud moment. And the last sort of that jumps out at me is, my early career, I started with Ryanair, and it was the best apprenticeship one could have into the airline world, right? They are fanatical about delivering operations, and they're fanatical about low cost.
Yeah.
And there's no better grounding into the aviation industry than working for, one of the airlines that does that very well.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. And they do.
And maybe I would say the only other thing that I'm very proud of is building the best team possible, getting the best people in, and it's just one of my passions, is really trying to get teams working into a world-class standard, because then you deliver world-class performance.
Yeah. Okay. And then what's been the best piece of advice you've been given along the way?
The best piece of advice I've been given along my way, which was, of course, you always have people who give you advice. But one is, look, there are no shortcuts. You've got to work hard, right? You've got to be unbelievably resilient to be a leader. You will make mistakes. You will have failures. You've got to then literally lean in. So the perseverance and resilience, I think, is the key bit of advice that I've ever had. And I've really experienced that. I've started as a pilot. I sort of went into running manufacturing businesses in Poland. So I went from cockpit to business. Yes. And, believe you me, there were a lot of mistakes and failures along the way. So my kind of advice I was given is, just continue to move forward, whatever hits you, perseverance, and there's no shortcut to achieving whatever your goals are. So if you want to be a senior leader in this industry, or you want to be whatever you want to be, there's unfortunately requires quite a lot of hard work.
Yes, there's no substitute for hard work, and like you say, everyone, that is the base now. That is it's not a differentiator anymore.
No,
in terms of
exactly.
It's expected. Fantastic. Okay, I want to talk to you about. Well, we talked about best piece of advice. What's a piece of advice that you wish you'd ignored?
That I wish I'd ignored. So the advice when I was a 767 pilot in my early 20s, and it's a fantastic job, flying around the world, staying in nice hotels. It really was a fantastic job. But I had a real ambition to broaden my career. So I then, of course, went back to university. Right. So the advice that I really should have taken is there are two parts. One is, I should have gone to university first. It gives you a much broader opportunity about where you want to go in your career. And the other was, when you get too comfortable, it's very easy not to change. Right? And I really ought to have changed when I look back, probably a bit earlier. Yeah. I was very comfortable enjoying my life.
Why not?
And to achieve great things, you unfortunately sometimes have to go through some harder, less comfortable types, should you say?
Yeah, yeah. That resistance, that's what creates the growth, right?
Indeed.
Absolutely. Okay. And then, like, as we're reflecting back, what would you say to a young 25-year-old Warwick now?
So I would say, right, make decisions earlier, take calculated risks earlier, and follow your instincts to progress. Because there's always, like, you always spend sometimes too long in a role, and you need to be progressing, right? So that would be my advice myself. I would have taken more risk earlier, albeit calculated.
Okay. And then finally on that subject, why should people, I think it's come across very well, but love you to articulate it. Why should people choose a career in aviation?
A number of things. One is aviation. It's got a great purpose. Okay, like we are, as an aviation industry, we connect the world. Right, you connect people, business, friends, and family. So we are really making the world a better place and connecting all those people. So I think there's a real purpose to our industry. So that's one. Two, the industry. It's not just about airlines and pilots, right? You have tech companies, you've got cargo companies, you've got aviation service companies. So you've got air traffic control. So there's such a wide variety, right, of sub-industries to choose from. So, whatever you're good at, you really have an opportunity to work in an industry. And I think you can actually change and move around within that industry, right, as long as you have skills. And then lastly, look, no 2 days are the same, right? So if you want an industry that's exciting and it's never standing still, and it's an industry that does well because it learns along the way, it's always correcting itself there, and safety being that tenet there. We're always learning about how to be a better, safer operator within that industry.
Absolutely. Okay. And we talked about skills before, and maybe we talked about a station manager level, but I think broadly when it talks about aviation, what skills do you want to see more of going forward? As you say, the industry develops and changes. What is your concern around maybe a skill shortage, or whether that be soft skills or particularly hard skills that you're worried about?
Yeah, no. So a couple of things. So one is, look, 95% of our people have a skill, right? But I thought, what is changing rapidly is that technology and AI. So, what we really need to be focusing on is, look, we need to having people in our business or upskilling to really kind of work within this new world of technology and AI alongside, right, the business. And I think that's going to be a really important part of developing our people, getting the right people, but also making sure as a business, we are kind of one step ahead, right? Because it's changing even 1 month to the next.
Yeah.
The technology of how you can manage, how you can make decisions is changing very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. So we're going to move on to what we call a quick fire round. So we're going to ask you some quick, short, sharp questions. We're looking for one-word answers. Some of them might want a few more words. That's fine. But we're looking to get to know you a bit more. So we'll start with something very easy because you'll be traveling a lot, I'm sure, in your flights. Aisle or window?
Aisle, short haul, window, long haul.
Interesting. Fantastic. Chicken or beef?
Chicken.
Okay. Favorite airport?
Obviously, it has to be Zurich because I live in Zurich and it is a very efficient airport. It's a very customer-friendly airport. 50% connectivity. We have a big operation there, so I'm very proud of our Zurich flagship.
Fantastic. Okay, your first job in aviation?
My first job in aviation was a pilot.
Yeah. Okay. Your biggest influence on your career?
So the biggest influence on my career was really moving from being a pilot to moving into business. I stopped commercial flying to actually do that. And that was quite a big decision, going out of my comfort zone.
Okay. Your earliest aviation memory?
So when I was very young, right, probably, maybe just a teenager, I flew Concorde from Singapore to London via Bahrain. And it was the Singapore Airlines branded Concorde on one side. And I think the British Airways Concorde. That was one of my very early memories.
Concorde always brings a smile to everyone's face on the show. So it's one of those things, it brings around a lot of memories. So fantastic. Great. Okay. Are you a lounge lizard or a last minute dasher?
Last minute dasher.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. And can you share a fun fact about yourself that our viewers might not know?
Sure. So I'm still a very active aerobatic pilot. So I still do, only for fun.
Yeah.
So I used to be a display pilot when I was in my early 20s, but I still fly for fun.
Okay, great. So we might see you at a show once in a while. No,
No, definitely not. Those days are gone. No. It's only for fun, very high up.
Fantastic. Okay. So listen, Warwick, this brings us to kind of the landing, so it's been a pleasure having you on board, and actually you've been really insightful. So thank you for your honesty and openness. And it really sounds like what you're doing at Swissport is with great clarity and a great ambition. And it clearly seems like you're bringing the best in class to help you deliver that, and with the people and the customer at the forefront, which I hope summarizes what you said to us. But I think that brings a lot of energy. I think it brings a lot of excitement in terms of what's possible there as well. So we wish you the very best, and we'll continue to kind of keep an eye on how things go at Swissport. I think just as a final thing, what I'd ask is if there's one thing you'd ask viewers to take away from this conversation, what would it be?
So look, I think the one thing I'd take away is, the aviation services business is really a fantastic, energizing place to work. I know it's a bit cheeky, but working for Swissport, it would be a great opportunity. We offer real career opportunities for everyone. We do a lot of investment in skills. So I would say, look, to leave it, look, the industry's wide, but this is a really exciting part of the industry to work in. And, the people that work with us are fantastic.
Well, you've given a compelling vision here, so I'm sold. So I'm sure there will be others. So again, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. And that wraps up the conversation with Warwick. Like I said, some really, really great insights for you. Make sure you're liking, commenting, and subscribing so you can keep up to date. We'll be launching this episode very soon. And with that, we say to you, thank you from World Aviation Festival. Keep flying high. Thank you to Swiper for supporting the Flying High Club at Lisbon 2025.